Alright, here's my proof of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, my name is Grant Morin, and my persuasive speech is about the elk reintroduction into our area. Have you ever seen an elk before?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Was it in a faraway place, or was it right here in our backyard?
Far away.
Faraway place. With the exception of the coniferous forest in northeast Minnesota, where woodland caribou roamed, elk roamed the state's hardwood forests and vast prairie. Slide. Their number were estimated to be in the thousands and played an important role in Native Americans' diet and culture. Many of you know I love the wildlife of our state, and conservation plays a near dear role in my heart. Earlier this month, the Fond du Lac Band of Ojibwe here in the Lake Superior Chippewa released their proposal to bring back elk to our neck of the woods. So as you can see on the slide, currently elk are in the red highlighted area. That pertains to just the northwest part of the state. That big chunk of red, there's about 100 to 150 in the herd. That little portion, there's about 28 to 35 in the herd. That yellow is where elk used to roam in the state. The white was all woodland caribou. Now this was all highlighted before the turn of the century. Minnesota became a state in 1858. That green portion is what I'll be talking about today. That's the main reintroduction spot that they're proposing we bring back. The black border there is the Fond du Lac Band's reservation. Slide. So there's a little close-up for you. It spans all the way down in the far left to Cromwell, up 71 or 73, I can't remember which, to Floodwood, and it doesn't really cross Highway 2 all that much. It tries to stay in the Fond du Lac State Forest. Alright, so the Fond du Lac Band of Ojibwe Chippewa are proposing to bring here anywhere from 100 to 150 elk. Here is why I believe that we should support their efforts. This is an obtainable and lofty goal, but other states east of the Rocky Mountains have established elk herds in the recent past. The most notable is Kentucky. In 1990, Kentucky went about doing a research project to see if they had sustainable lands for elk. Kentucky at the time was recovering from the coal industry, and a lot of their lands were higher elevation, reclaimed coal. That's a lot of hardwood forests and nice broadleaves for the elk. So they reintroduced elk slowly but surely, and their numbers are very proficient today. East of the Rocky Mountains, that's where you want to go if you want to see elk. There's 6 other states that have successfully reintroduced elk to their states. Those would be Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Missouri, Tennessee, and North Carolina. This would provide recreational opportunities through elk viewing and boost local economies in an area of the state primed for ecotourism. Slide. This would attract more seasonal tourism to smaller communities throughout our area instead of just Duluth. This would also mean more jobs if things like an elk habitat viewing center were built, thus generating more tax revenue for schools and public works. Local businesses would also see an uptick in traffic, and that means more profit. Here are some stats given by the Fond du Lac Band's proposal. Over 15 years ago, the Cable Area of Chamber of Commerce estimated Wisconsin's Clam Lake or Northern Elk herd contributed approximately $210,000 annually to the local rural economy. If you've been to Cable, Wisconsin, you know it's rural. The Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife estimates that elk add approximately $5 million to local economies through the activities such as elk hunting guides, and sightseeing tours. Slide. In Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's Elk Visitor Center opened in 2010 and attracted 51,000 visitors from 46 states in 16 countries in the first 4 months alone. By 2019, the annual attendance had grown to 520,000, according to the Associated Press in 2021. All right. The city of Duluth is located 20 miles east of the proposed new elk range, and the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce estimates 3.5 million people visit Duluth annually and have $780 million in direct impact to the local economy. As demonstrated in other states, the potential exists to attract portions of these visitors to travel to outlying communities in the southern St. Louis and Carleton counties for the purpose of elk viewing alone. All right. This would also provide a future elk hunting opportunities for tribal and non-tribal hunters. While there is an elk hunting season here in Minnesota, it's heavily regulated by the Minnesota DNR. The demand is much higher than the supply. This results in people looking elsewhere to spend their time and money in the pursuit of this big game animal. This would also help the Fond du Lac bands to have elk present once again in their diet and culture. Here's a stat from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources website. In Minnesota, in 2020, 4,425 people applied for 44 available elk permits. 2021, those numbers reached over 5,000. I know because I was one personally. Here's a fact from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources website. In Wisconsin, 28,000 people applied for just 4 elk tags, and another 1,600 bought raffle tickets for a 5th permit. In accordance with the hunting rights reserved in the treaties of 1837 and 1842, half of the annual elk harvest quota in Wisconsin's northern or Clam Lake herd is retained by the Ojibwe bands, signatory to these treaties, and the other half goes to the state of Wisconsin. So if there were only 5, that means that there were 10 quota, and the Native American people in that area also got 5 tags. Everybody loves a success story, and we have the opportunity here to have a big one in our own area. It wouldn't cost much to the taxpayers, if anything at all. Several potential funding sources for elk restoration projects exist and include Minnesota's Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund, the Federal Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Program, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Tribal Wildlife Grants, and contributions from nonprofit conservation groups and private companies. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has already provided financial support to the feasibility study for this proposal, and they have a strong history of donating a lot of money to any type of elk restoration and habitat improvements. In addition, Minnesota's Lesser Sam's Outdoor Heritage Fund could also be a source of funding for elk habitat enhancement projects. The outdoors and wildlife are a bond that is handed down from generation to generation. My father taught me to appreciate the way things are here in the outdoors, just like his parents taught him. We have the opportunity here to restore an animal to its once native area, an animal that was once a staple in our ecosystem. We don't often get the chance to bring back something that was once lost and thought to be gone for good. I hope this speech has enlightened you on why we should support their efforts to bring back elk to our area. As President Theodore Roosevelt once said, there can be no greater issue than that of conservation in this country. Thank you.